Mr. Renik, you have the floor.
Oh, alrighty. Thank you, Debbie. Again, my name is Rich Renik. Been in radio for 40 years, and some of the radio stations that I've had a chance to be involved with include WMAQ, when it was country. Anybody like country music here? Anybody like country music and is afraid to admit it? Okay, there you go. And I had some time over at the US 99, and after my long tenure, I retired and missed it and went back, and now I'm over WCCQ. When Mike asked if I could talk about 5 minutes on radio, I said, I don't think it's humanly possible for a disc jockey to talk for only 5 minutes on radio, but I'll try. Being in the business for 40 years as I have been, it's been really interesting to watch how the evolution is. And if you're in business, you may see it yourself, regardless of what it is, how cyclic everything tends to be. Let me give you a little comparison. Many of you may be old enough to remember when WLS, WCFL, radio was AM. That was it. Radio was AM. Well, AM radio's been around since 1910. And one of the first broadcasts was back in 1921 when Jack Dempsey had a fight. And it was broadcast on a Westinghouse station. And they teletyped what was going on to KDKA in Pittsburgh. And announcers at that station read the transcript of how the fight was going on as it was going on. Well, it opened up the whole concept of what entertainment was going to mean to people. Radio stations started popping up. AM was around. Interestingly enough, back in the early or late 30s, FM was around. But nobody knew what to do with it. Think of how the evolution is. Now, I'm going to walk through this quickly. The concept was always around for radio, going back to Marconi and DeForest. The real reason was to communicate with ships at sea, and for ships to communicate between ships. But then it evolved, and it became, there is a money-making possibility here if we turn this into entertainment. Now think about it. We had AM radio, but how many people had AM radios? Not a lot. They were too expensive. Then it became popular. They manufactured more radios, the cost came down, more people bought the radios, more stations popped up, and now we have a whole regulated industry by the FCC on AM radio. At a point, all the radio stations started doing exactly the same thing. They were doing radio shows, they were doing big bands, but they were all doing the same thing. Okay, we're going to cut forward maybe 15 years, and now we're into the 50s where FM is now introduced. Think of the analogy here. We have the technology, we have the FM radio station capability, but no FM radios. You can't hear them. So FM radio went on and nobody knew what to do with it. When I was at WMAQ, I was there for 13 years, we simulcasted WMAQ AM and FM because there was not enough market to sell the FM stations. But now FM started to grow. Receivers were starting to become more available. They started getting put into cars. Remember, only one car, and one car had only an AM radio? Now, new cars had AM and FM. People talked about it. More radios were purchased. Now it became more popular, and the radio stations started to develop programming. Here we are, many years later, everybody's doing the same thing. The AM radio stations now stopped playing music, and they went to talk because it's better for AM. But they're all doing exactly the same thing. So now we have AM, we have FM. What was the next evolution? Satellite. Now satellite comes up. Think of the parallels. Satellite radio, a new technology, 900 channels, crystal clear, no commercials. The technology's here, but no radios. You can't listen to it. Now, the receivers started to come out. They're a little cheaper. People started buying it. We've got satellite radio. If you have it now, what's the difference between what you're listening to and CDs? or iPods. They all sound the same. The evolution of this market is incredible. The broadcasters have then gotten together to say, what are we going to do to be able to compete against satellite programming? You know what the next evolution is?
HD radio.
HD radio. Digital radio. Free. You don't have to pay $15 a month. And here's the interesting thing. The technology's there. Almost all of the stations are digital ready, but there are no receivers. They're too expensive. You see the parallels as we go through the last 98 years of radio? Eventually they're going to get cheaper. I believe BMW is the first manufacturer to integrate digital radio into their new cars. But now there's more choice. So from my perspective, in being a part of broadcasting, I think this is an exciting time. If you're bored to death with radio, terrestrial radio the way it is right now, I say just give it another 6 months or another year. I don't think it's going to take that long. One more evolution that you can look at. I'm going to put my Nostradamus hat on real quick. My Nostradamus hat will say the next evolution. Have you ever listened to a radio station on the internet? They're all streaming. So you can dial into any radio station that's streaming anywhere in the world. The next evolution, I believe, is going to have you have computer internet capability in your car, where you can dial in to any station that is streaming in the world and listen to it with digital quality. So exciting times. It's an exciting world, I think, that we're listening to, and it's going to get better once our broadcasters, the owners of the stations, understand that you, the listeners, are the ones who are going to dictate what's being played. Right now, they're dictating what's being played, and I believe that's going to change too. So there you go, 6.5 minutes worth of 98 years worth of radio. Any comments or thoughts real quick before we, anything on your mind?
I have something. Some of you might remember, but back in '06 when Woodridge hosted ROTS, Rich came out and he was our MC for the event. And with the mic, we set up a PR day mixed with the ROTS training, and Rich was our MC for the day for that. So
I remember.
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got a good memory.
Not blonde.
What years were you with 99?
US 99 was from 88 until 2003.
Wow.
Yeah, and MAQ was 75 to 88. It's some great years, some great memories. It's a good business. It's been a great ride. Yes, I have.
You meet some blonde as well?
I have not. I have not.
I love him.
But Garth Brooks. All right. Well, many thanks for your attention. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of the week.
Thank you.